Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to anyone who's listening to us anywhere in the world. Francisco, hola.
Hola Jorge, ¿cómo estás?
I'm good, thank you so much. I'm a little bit worried about the world situation, and this is going to be our topic today, right? And especially focus in the European Union, also our country, Spain. But let's get our music and then we'll chat about it. Do you agree?
Let's get some music.
Okay, let's go for it. Well, Frank. What do you think about all this new situation that's happening in
Ooh,
the world?
what a couple of weeks we've had around the
Yeah,
world.
yeah, it's true.
Wow. Well, that's what has happened in the United States these last 2 weeks. The Zelensky incident, the quotas that we have now with Mexico, the United States has with Mexico, with Canada, with China.
Hmm.
All of this is setting the world in a new way of thinking, a new world situation.
Yeah,
And as Europeans, we need to go over and see what can happen, what's going on. And that's what we want to talk about
yeah.
today.
Today, let's see how we touch these delicate topics.
First of all, for our listeners, we are not economical gurus, we are not political brains, we're just tour guides. And what we're going to share with you, it's, let's say, the concerns that normal people has around Europe right now. What's going to
Sure.
happen?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's let's think about what has happened in the United States. The United States has just made new quotas to Canada and to Mexico, which is a 25%,
Hmm.
and some quotas to special taxes to China, which is 10 to 15%. This means that the next country that is going to have quotas is going to be Europe. It's going to be us. That on one hand. The other thing, as we said, it
When you say,
is
Francisco, sorry to interrupt you. When you say Europe, you're talking about the European continent or European Union?
European Union. We're going to
Okay,
talk about the European Union.
okay,
There we go. Thanks for that.
good.
The second, it is the Zelensky, the Ukraine situation.
Hmm.
What's going on? What's not going on? It seems that right now the United States is taking all the help out of Ukraine. So is the United States, this again, this is what the general public in Europe were like, what's going on? Is the United States aligning with Russia? Is it just, we don't know what's going on. So this situation has left us, Europe, with some big concerns. And we need to think what we have done or where we are. And especially, I think we are depending on four major things here in Europe. Those major topics that we depend from outside are the first one, energy.
Hmm. Absolutely. Don't forget that, especially here in Spain, we are an oil dependent country.
There
So
we go.
that
I
is a
mean,
big thing.
in Europe, we don't have petrol, we don't have gasoline, we don't have that. Okay, so it has to come either from Russia, or it comes from the United States. I mean, we don't. Now it's Russia. Ooh, bad people. And I have some very good friends that are Russian, and I adore them. And but the politics in Russia
Yeah.
is like bad people. Okay,
Mm.
please, on this week podcast, when we talk about Russian, we're not talking about the people from Russia. We're talking the politicians in Russia. When we're talking the
Hmm.
United States, we don't talk about people of the United States. We talk about the political situation in the United States. Okay, so please
Hmm.
don't be offended about it. So first, we depend from Russia and the United States for our energy. The second thing, weapons. At this
Yeah,
moment, the
that's a big
United
thing.
States has taken help out of Ukraine. The United States says we want NATO to go away. We don't want to support NATO anymore. What do we do?
They,
Europe, I
they're
mean,
stopping their supplies to Ukraine, right?
to Ukraine,
The
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the situation is that Russia is beginning to invade Europe. So it's like,
What do you mean invade Europe?
well, it's
What way?
invading Ukraine. Is he going to stop in Ukraine, or is he going to go, if it works, then for Latvia or Slovenia or all of these ex-Russian? It's one of the concerns that a lot of people are talking about in Europe. What do we do? We'll talk about it. Third thing,
Hmm.
supplies.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
depend,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
the whole world, especially technical thing, chips and all that, from China.
From China. That's true. Mm.
China is a big supplier of everything, especially technological, to the world.
Mm.
Europe is one of the countries.
Mm.
And the fourth, sorry, big problem with,
I think I know that one.
well, we're sharing it. It's
Telecommunications, isn't it?
communications. There we go.
Yeah.
Satellites,
Satellites.
uh, internet, everything.
Mm.
We depend, I would say 100% from the United States. So let's see how we could, Europeans, the European common market, we can deal with it. So let's start with energy. How can we deal with energy, Jorge?
Well, good question, Francisco. And the answer is not really easy. There is a country in the European continent, which everybody has heard about it, a beautiful country, by the way, which is Norway. Norway is in the European continent, but it's not part of the European Union. Although they do have a lot of agreements with the European Unions, okay, regarding taxes, regarding imports, things related to our theme today, which is one of the themes, energy. Apparently, Norway has been supplying to the European Union well, I mean, for 50 years, okay? But you're going to say, wait a minute, 50 years ago, the European Union didn't exist because it became what it is today in January 1986. Okay,
Okay.
but they had agreements because they were, while all these countries were forming the European Union, what it was going to be, etc., etc. So they had, bilateral agreements with independent countries. When the union started as a union, then it was just to that, up to the point that they supply 25% of all the oil and now including gas that we need in the European Union. Do we
So
want
let's about sorry about the
yeah.
for our listeners, maybe they don't know that Norway is the only European country that has oil and has, well, gas we have, but oil, it's the only country that has major supplies of oil.
Well, there's
So,
also, in Scotland, in the coast, in the
but
shores
I
of
mean,
Scotland,
major,
yeah, big
major.
ones, they big
Yeah.
ones, yeah, that's true, yeah, and yeah, do we want Norway into the European Union? Many people would love to have Norway into the European Union, but I mean, nowadays that I believe they're not even contemplating that scenario.
Well, that
Uh,
I have a couple of friends. Well, we do
yeah,
have a few mutual friends from people from Norway, and I've talked with some friends, and they say, we have always been outside of the European common market because, hey, we have money. And let's not face it, let's not deny it. They have money because they have oil. We don't need it. Now that Russia is, I mean, Ukraine is way too close to Norway. So if Russia wants to go to Norway, maybe Norway wants to be in the European common market. So maybe it's like, hey, people from Norway, do you guys want to come to European common market? And if there's a referendum at this moment, I don't want to say it's going to be a yes in Norway, but it's going to be close. So,
it's gonna be tight. Is that what you think?
and for us,
Yeah,
it would be very interesting for us, Europe, because if they become part of the European common market, all the gas that they bring now, as you said, is at 25% of the gas we need in Europe. First, they can sell more percentage to us. And second, it's going to be, let's say, tax free because it is Schengen,
area, yeah,
our area.
not
So
non-taxable, yeah.
not taxable. So
Hmm.
that would be amazing because we are going to not depend so much from Russia. I mean, let's think that especially Germany, the biggest economy that we have here in Europe, depends directly the gas from Russia.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
if we can take that power out of Russia and shift it to Norway, it would be key for the European strength.
Well, actually, they have agreed recently just to kind of strengthen the cooperation between the European Union and Norway, just to supply more than that. And they are, I mean, all these things. Obviously, they have a bureaucracy and et cetera, et cetera. but they are working on it. At least it's an initial step. Okay, but what about other things regarding oil, besides not regarding besides oil and gas? What do you think about the other sources of energy? Because I mean, I mentioned a few minutes ago that Spain, precisely, we are an oil dependent country. So our electricity, when we switch the lights on, there is a power station somewhere that is burning fuel, right? Just to have
And
lights on. And even now, when we are recording this, thanks to our the technology, the satellites that we are now being connected here, and this is going to be aired, you know, uh, all this is oil. The base of all that is oil, but there are many other
so
others
we can
sources.
talk about renewable energies. I
Yeah,
mean, we can talk about solar panels. We can
solar
talk about
panels and wind
hydroelectrical.
turbines. Yeah. Would
So,
you, Francisco, would you allow me to touch a delicate topic here that many people might not be agreeing with us, which is about, I mean, we're going to talk about the renewable sources, okay? But
mhm.
what about, what's your personal thought about nuclear energy?
Ooh, nuclear energy, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
To me, I have always been against nuclear energy. I have
Hmm.
always been an advocate. No, nuclear energy is there's too much waste and it's too dangerous and this and that and that and this. Now, I must say that I'm not as against it. I think for us to go into renewable energies, it's going to take time. And this nuclear energy, it's faster to produce, it's easier, and yes, it's polluting. Yes, it's horrible, but it could give us bigger independence from the other big one. You know, the other
Hmm.
gas is also very polluting. So at least we can control that. So I'm there. I don't know where I stand. I mean, we have France.
Quiz question, Francisco. Under your opinion, I think it's going to be the same as mine. What country in the European Union do you think is the one is pushing the pedals for the whole engine to work
Economical or energy wise?
in all aspects?
I mean, it's Germany, the big
Correct,
economical motor.
correct. Can you tell how many nuclear plants they have in Germany?
No clue. Okay.
Zero,
What? But there are 80 million people.
zero. Yeah, they closed all of them.
Wow.
They were going green, and now
But they
that's one of
depend
the.
then directly from oil.
Well, yes and no. Let me just clarify this. The country with the most nuclear plants in Europe right now is France. It has
Okay.
56 operating
That's
nuclear
why they
nuclear
do
plants.
not depend on gas.
That's right. That's one of the things
So
that they
that's
don't depend on gas. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, they do depend on gas. Depends on the areas because you know, due to several geopolitical things, which we're not going to go into it that now. But let's refer right now into Spain. Spain has we had nine nuclear plants. Two of them are already closed, and we have seven. Four out of those seven, they are old. They are more than 40 years old, and they are extending their lifespan, which is a kind of a little bit dangerous, but as long as it is controlled, okay, but they still have a limit. So building a nuclear plant is not one thing that you do from one day to another. It takes a long time, and also you need to be located in certain areas, you know, near the water. That's you know, the key to a nuclear plant, and also the disposables, you know, remains of the nuclear plants. That is a big debate worldwide, what to do with
what
them,
to do with
etc.,
them.
etc. So what happens? Look, in Germany, they've gone very, very green. Talking about nuclear, not nuclear, sorry, solar turbines,
Mhm.
solar wind turbines,
Panels or wind turbines.
wind turbines, yeah. In Germany, they have 70,000 turbines.
Okay.
70,000 turbines. That is a lot. In Germany, there are areas that are very windy, okay, especially in the
Mhm.
north. But because of the geographical location of Spain, that we are in the southwest of Europe, we get winds from the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, and they both collide above the Iberian Peninsula. So here in Spain, we have 31,000 turbines. Sometimes there's an average, if you do it on a per day basis, our power comes from that on a 30% daily basis.
30%.
30% only from the wind, which is quite a lot when you think about
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah.
So we just need to triple.
Yeah. I mean, we need to triple. But then on top of that, nothing against the ecologists, nothing against the poor little animals, nothing against the wildlife. But if things, and this is a very personal opinion, if things are done correctly, you know, preserving the environment, etc., I don't think that that could be so harmful as many of those associations they could put it on the paper. So also solar panels. There is a little curiosity here. Germany has 30% of sun hours in the
30
whole year than we do have. So let's imagine we have 300 days
of
of
sunny days.
sunny days in Spain. Germany has 30%, which is like a third, 100. But they produce triple the energy coming from solar panels of what we do in Spain.
So, but this should be a European thing. It should
Yeah.
not be Germany this, Spain this, France this. We do have the sun, we do have the wind. Let us provide. Let us get wind turbines everywhere. Let us get solar farms everywhere. And let's do huge wires to deliver it to Europe. We need the energy. I mean, we need to invest a lot of in infrastructure to send energy from here all the way to Poland, all the way to wherever they need it.
Mhm.
We have the land. Half of Spain is flat, or the meseta. It's quite windy and quite sunny. So we can provide there. There's a lot of land that is not farmland and there's barely no population. That's where we can do all of these things. So I think we need to shift into green energy, but meanwhile, maybe the nuclear, or there's now the fusion thing that they said there's less uh, garbage produced, the fusion nuclear, something weird.
Nuclear
But
fusion, yeah. I mean, I've been
it's
listening
not,
about that for decades,
yeah.
but
So,
who knows?
I mean,
Yeah.
but we need to, yes, get the energy situation taken
Hmm.
care. So
Yeah.
that's one of the four legs that we need to go over.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else
Touching,
to? Oh,
yeah, oh, no, no. I mean, just about that is there's nothing I could, unless you want to mention something else. I was about to jump into the. What did you think about our dependence? Well, and when I say ours, I don't mean about Spain. I mean about
yeah, Europe,
most of the world and mainly Europe as well. In China,
commerce. Who?
commerce. Yeah.
Well, the situation again. The whole world has stopped producing for because it's cheaper to produce in China, and we
Mm-hmm.
have let China produce all of our goods, and they come in good quality and on and on and on. Fantastic. We depend from them. Right now, there's a movement in the European government, which I think it's better than putting quotas and putting, hey, anything coming from China is going to be 15 or 20% more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of doing that, what the European Common Market, the EU, is doing, it's if you buy from China, this is how much it costs. But if you buy from European companies, you're going to have a deduction
You mean
in
tax
taxes,
benefits? Tax,
tax benefits.
tax
So
benefits. Yeah.
you're not going to punish imports from China. You're going to give benefits to European products. That could be one of the shifts that we can do.
Yeah, but I know there is a little. That's a little bit tricky because there are many Chinese companies that they're buying European companies and they're producing here.
That's it. China, it's way beyond. I mean, with all of these conflicts around the world, China, if you see, they're very quiet. They're like,
Mm.
okay, you guys figure it out by yourselves. We're here behind,
Yeah.
and we're buying everything. China has bought half of Africa, so they have supplies, and
Hmm.
now, I mean, in the United States, it is. I don't know. I read once in the New York Times that half of the Fifth Avenue is owned by big Chinese corporations.
No
So
way.
I guess they're buying the whole thing, but
Whoa.
they're also buying right now Europe.
Yeah.
Here in Spain, we have a
I was about to say that is not that affecting something in your hometown.
well, not in my hometown, not the one in Pamplona. Here in Spain, we do have a lot of car
Yeah.
companies.
Yeah.
We have one of the major factories in Europe. It's Volkswagen. Okay,
Yeah.
Volkswagen is a car production. And here in Spain, we have several factories that provide for Volkswagen.
Just let me remind our listeners that Spain nowadays is the seventh car manufacturer in the whole world for many companies. So there are many all over the country. So
So what happens is that, as you're saying, in my hometown here in Pamplona, we have a big Volkswagen
yeah.
factory, but there's
Hmm.
another one in Barcelona, very close to Barcelona, called Martorell. Let's
Uh-huh.
say Barcelona.
Hmm.
And this factory in Barcelona, it's not profitable. So Volkswagen wants to get rid of it. And Volkswagen just got rid of it. And a Chinese corporation has just bought it,
Wow.
which means that anything this factory sells, it is going to be European, but owned by a Chinese corporation.
Hmm.
What China, the big companies in China, what they're doing is they're beginning to buy all of these factories in Europe. So by the
Hmm.
time we set this rule,
Yeah.
sure, we can produce here as well.
Nice.
So, hey, I mean, to me, this is a world's players. And I
Hmm.
think China is playing very wisely. I mean, very wisely, and we have let them do it. Right.
Hmm.
So that's China is one of the big things, the commerce with China. We depend from them. Let's see how we can do. I mean, we do have the technology. The things that hand labor here in Europe is way too expensive compared to China.
True.
As the customers, we don't want to pay more for
Hmm.
goods because our salaries don't go as. Oh my gosh, how do we deal with all of that?
No, it's not. It's not an easy task.
We don't know.
It's really complicated. And
So,
Francisco, what about telecommunications?
oh, okay.
That's enough.
Telecommunications, the world has changed in the last 25 years. Before it was, I don't know, faxes and it was normal mail and it was that's it. But suddenly, boom, internet has appeared and we all depend out of satellites and we all depend of data collecting centers.
Hmm.
Those are the two main things that we need to do all of that. And the most important ones are in the United States. The two countries with more satellites in space are the United States and China.
Hmm.
And the two countries,
China is the second one.
China is the second one.
Wow, I thought it was Russia.
And uh, I've read a couple of articles saying that it's China, Russia, Russia, China,
Okay.
but China is very secretive. We don't know how many they have. So
What's the price?
it's like, okay, fine. So but the ones that we Europeans use, the satellites, are most of them Americans.
Uh-huh.
And the data, the storage data centers, the largest one, again, is in China. And but it's one that is physically huge. But in the United States is where we have many, 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 many. Okay. So what can we do? Well, first of all, remember when we talk about energy,
Mm-hmm.
it was Norway.
True.
Guess where the largest European data collection center is located?
Uh, Norway?
Norway.
No way. Norway, no
No
way.
way.
Sorry. I've never thought about that.
Guess way, it's in Norway.
Are you serious? Norway is
It
the
is in
same.
Norway. It is in
Really?
Norway. So
Wow.
come on, people, Norwegians, come to Europe. We want you in the European common market. So we need them. We need them. But the second thing is we have the European Space Agency is ESA,
Hmm.
European Space Agency. It was founded in 1975, and it is the one that has uh, launched many satellites, European satellites, into space. So now there's a talk. It is something that has faded
Hmm.
because before the world was the way it is, the number the company that was the most important one with setting satellites in the universe, in the space, it was NASA.
Hmm.
Now you have all the private companies, SpaceX, and all of these companies that they do put their own satellites up there.
Hmm.
SpaceX, it's Elon Musk,
Yeah, that one.
that the guy.
The guy. Yeah.
Now, what about Europe? Europe, this ESA, the European Space Agency, it is the one that has launched more of the European ones. So we need to invest back again in this agency and make it strong and put more European satellites so we don't depend from the American or the Chinese or the Russian satellites for our communications. Okay.
Hmm.
Now the debate is, do we want to go to the moon? Do we want to go to Mars? Do we want to do this? All of this putting humans into the universe, into the space. It is one of the, I guess, for the big governors in the world, it is the thing to do, put people in space. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
And you took the words of my mouth.
I need satellites. I need communications.
Yeah.
So the debate right now it is: do we want to put more people in space? Do we need? We have launched a couple of satellites to the sun where they get destroyed, but we get all this information. Do we need to do that? Do we need to invest that, or we just need to start sending satellites up, 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 put them in orbit, and let's not depend? So that's the third leg. What do we do with communication? What do we do with satellites, with internet? We need to create these data collector centers. We cannot depend on Microsoft, on Google. We cannot depend on the big corporations. We need to have something more European.
Hmm. Yeah, I
So
totally agree with you, and that's why this, since I would say since 2 3 weeks ago, it's been the life into the European Union has been so active with reunions of all the presidents of all the countries. I mean, yesterday our president had to go just to I don't know where it was. I think it
it
was
is in
London.
London.
London, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things on the table right now that Europe needs to recharge batteries as fast as they can. Excuse me. And one of the things that I'm just a little bit concerned about it is also the um, ammunition. That there is no a real European army.
And that is the fourth leg of
Yeah,
this conversation.
that's right.
Weapons. NATO. What do we
Mm.
do with NATO? Uh,
I read an article that I don't believe in it, but it was very interesting. Say that NATO has is very soon to pass away because it's kind of obsolete. I don't know up
well,
to what point, but anyway.
it's, the, but what has just happened with Zelensky and the United States not supporting Ukraine means that he's going to support Russia? Is he going to support Vladimir Putin? Imagine an alignment between the United States and Russia. Hey, we are
I
in the
don't see
middle.
that personally. I don't see that personally.
Well, neither do I, but is this where we're heading to?
Maybe another Cold War. Who knows?
It's a strange situation because
Yeah.
really the new White House administration it's giving the back to the European and it's facing towards Russia. I don't know. I really don't know. But what has happened in Europe is that after World War One, we tried to sit down and say, hey, we cannot have all of these weapons here because we kill each other.
You mean World War I or two?
World War One.
Okay.
Obviously, it didn't work, and we did World War Two,
Mm-hmm.
and it was horrible. I mean, it was horrible everywhere around Europe. And after World War II, I don't want to say that we had a pact of not rearming ourselves. It's a European country. We just said we don't want wars anymore in here. Let's not call for it. So we have not been strong about getting weapons and getting a strong army because we didn't need it. Now we need it. Now is a moment we say, Russia is knocking on the right, on the east. I mean, and especially for us, Spain, Portugal, we are way too far.
Yeah, but nowadays, Francisco, there is no distances.
Yeah, but there's no distance. But
Yeah.
it kind of seems far, but it's, as you say, there's no distances. They're here. So we need to create a European army. Is it? I think it should be NATO, but again, the American administration wants out of NATO or wants to control NATO. It, so how do we do? We need to invest in our army. I don't know what Roman philosopher said, no,
Mhm.
Greek philosopher said that in order to have peace, we need to have good armies.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard
Isn't
that.
that a terrifying
Absolutely.
sentence? And it comes
Absolutely.
from the Greeks. Okay,
Yeah.
so in order to have peace, we need to have good armies.
Yeah.
Couldn't we just say, hey, let's love each other? No, we cannot. We're humans and we love to invade. It's as simple as that. I mean, we have always invaded from Egyptian times.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's terrifying when you
It's
think about
ridiculous,
it.
but it is what.
It's
And
because I mean the sentences are so wise that it makes me laugh in the sense of it's true. You know,
but
it is
but
true.
think about it. What's going on?
Yeah.
Russia is invading Ukraine.
Hmm.
The United States wants Greenland, which is Denmark, which is Europe.
Yeah. True.
What the hell
Yeah.
is going on? I mean, oh, why does the United States want Greenland when
Well,
it's
I know
no?
for a fact that the Greenlanders they do want independence. They want to become an independent country, but they do respect to be under the umbrella of the Danish crown. That's how it's called, the
Mm-hmm.
country. Okay, um, but yeah, you're totally right. Nowadays, it's Danish territory, which is it is European
Yeah,
Union.
it's but it is something that it seems unreal. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you cannot do that. But if you if the new administration decides to go, it's like we don't have weapons to defend Denmark.
Hey, if no one stopped the one who's sitting now in the chair of Russia to
Hmm.
invade a neighbor country, we could have the same situation in the other side, you know, invading a piece of land which is very close to the continent, to the American continent.
So it is a very strange situation right now,
Very,
though,
very,
and
and scary.
it's scary.
Yeah.
But I think okay. So now we have talked about the four things: energy, weapons, commerce with China, and communications.
Yeah.
What's going on right now in Europe? Right now, I think both Russia and the United States, you know, let's put all the game, all the players of the game. Okay, we have the United States, we have Russia, we have China. India is very quiet, and we have Europe. Those are the big economical motors in the world. Okay,
Hmm.
India is being quiet. We don't hear anything about India, and they're huge potential, and they're
Oh yeah,
very quiet.
absolutely. It's the most populated country in the world right now.
So, hey, they have something to say.
Yeah.
China, it's like, well, you make all the fuss and we'll sit down, we'll keep on buying. Russia is invading. The United States is saying we don't support anymore Europe. So the two big countries, the two big powers, Russia from the east, United States from the right, from the west, are trying to break Europe, which means one less country in the global economy play.
RAM plus another big conflict that is happening right now is in the Middle East.
The Middle East, what do we do? The big suppliers of gas to Europe.
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm. But all of this is affecting Europe, and it should be destroying Europe. But I don't know if you have been talking with your friends and people. Everybody's like, you know, we have Russia on one hand attacking, the United States is attacking. Maybe we need to organize. Maybe finally the European common market is going to be true. And we're going to start being strong and being an economical motor and communication and weapons and energy. And it's going to
Y-
take time, but I think this is making us become a little bit more united.
Yeah, in a way, I think. Yeah, in a way, I think exactly the same as you. At least to try to find a solution somehow. We need to find a solution somehow. Do we have the solution? As we said at the very beginning, we are not politicians. We're not experts. We're just expressing our
Yeah,
thoughts in here. And of course, everybody has the right to give their own perspective
yeah.
about it. And here we are just trying to discuss what's going on nowadays in the European continent. That, well, I mean, it comes to a point, Francisco, to me that when I just turn the prime news on, I would say that nowadays, 50% of the time, I just change channel and I see, I don't know, a little, the gorillas in Africa documentary, because it's the same thing over and over again and repeating, and the same names and the same situation, the same scenario with a different date.
It
So,
is.
wow, it is,
And,
it is worrying. It is
you
worrying.
know, I think it's a warring situation. I mean, when you walk on the streets, you don't see stress, you don't see,
Oh, no, 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 not at
especially
all.
for our
Not at all.
listeners, don't, please,
No.
please, please don't panic. I've had a couple of DMs in internet asking, Fran, what is the perspective of Europeans towards Americans? Are we going to
Mhm.
be welcome? Is it going to be, are we going to feel uncomfortable? Oh, no, 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 no,
No,
no,
no
no,
way.
no, no. Okay. I
Mm.
think we have come to a moment when I don't care where you come from, and I'm not going to judge you for what your politicians are
Hmm.
doing. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I might agree or might not agree with what the White House is doing, but I understand that it's the White House. Me, and I would say 99% of the European people, we don't think that all Americans want to put quotas into Europe. I
No.
don't think that, no, nobody thinks this. This is just,
I'm gonna go beyond your words, Francisco. I don't think that anyone, okay, no nationalities, anyone with a little bit of common sense wants to harm just for the sake of harm.
yeah.
Okay,
So
there's always some exceptions. All right, there's always some exceptions, like every rule. But I would say I still have faith in the humankind. I still have
I
faith
do.
in you.
No, but to me, the message
Yeah.
we want to share with
Yeah.
everybody is that all of you are going to be welcome in Europe,
Oh,
like we have
absolutely.
always
Yeah.
been.
Yeah.
We love to have people from everywhere around the world
Hmm.
traveling in our countries. We know that Europe, especially with Canada and the United States, is a very dear relationship.
Hmm.
We appreciate each other. We love to share our cultures. You're going to feel safe, protected, and loved in Europe. All right.
True.
So
Absolutely.
please
Yeah.
don't fear coming over because it's not true. I mean, if
And don't
somebody
forget,
tells you,
Francisco, like we had a few weeks ago, our beloved Maricar Donato, she said some beautiful words. We are world peace ambassadors as tour guides. Okay? So
tour guides, tour people, the more you travel, the more you love.
that's true.
So
Yeah.
please, everybody, keep on traveling. We need to talk about all of these things that the world are doing without judging. We need to protect our countries. We need to love our neighbor. We need to share the love and passion for our heritage, our
Mm-hmm.
history, our
True.
gastronomy. And it works both ways. When you guys come over here, we love to have you here because we learn from you. We see your point of view, and I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. I don't care. I love to talk with people. We have
Mm-hmm.
lost,
And share.
then
To talk
yes,
and
share it.
share.
We have lost this thing. If you're right wing, you hate me because I'm left wing. If I'm left wing, I hate you because you're right wing.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. I
Yeah.
can care less if you're right wing, left wing. If let's talk. Let's
Yeah.
let's try to put a conversation back. We need to.
Over a good meal, because a good meal always arranges everything.
There we go. If you here in Spain, we always say that you solve any problem sitting on a table.
That's right.
Everybody, we with this podcast this week, we just want to talk a little bit of what's going on in the world from a
Yeah, it's
European
been
point of
it,
view.
it has been woof, oh, my goodness.
Well,
I still have these butterflies in the stomach because I didn't really know how to touch the ground here to express. It's hard, Francisco, not to
yes.
express emotions, isn't it? It's just to be a
Well,
little bit pragmatic about it. Sometimes you just put a little bit of your personal touch. That's
it's
inevitable.
impossible not to put your point of view.
Yeah, but we do hope here that we have given you a little extra insight about what's happening in the European continent right now. And if there is anything else that you want to add, Francisco, because I think we have touched good things today.
Major topics.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah,
And let's make this an open conversation. Please, on our social media,
yeah.
uh, give us your opinion. And I promise that the two of us, we are not going to judge where you're coming from. We
Mhm.
want to hear both sides. And I know that we are more on one side than the other, both of us. And many
You
of you are
see,
going to be on one side more than the other. But I would love to learn. I want to learn. I want to know what's your point of view on all of
what
these.
your thoughts, your opinions, what do you think about the world situation right now? And for that, you have, as Francisco just mentioned, you have our social media. Francisco, yours is Traveling Steps, isn't it?
There we go. On Traveling the Steps, you can do it on
Yeah,
my Facebook, Francisco Glaria.
right.
Jorge, you have yours, which is Traveling with Jorge.
Traveling with Jorge, that's right. And then our podcast, Spanish Loops at gmail.com. That's the email. If you want to share some more extended, thoughts or whatever, there's always there, open just to be discussed, or just give us an opinion and we can, even
Talk
mention
about
that
it.
in one of our podcasts. Yes, talk about that. We would
I
love to hear and also that is something really, really important. Not only for this podcast, but if you like our podcast, when you see it on YouTube, please give us a thumb up. That is
super
immensely
nice.
appreciated. Okay. And if you subscribe and share, that will be just the best gift that you can
Very
give.
nice.
And that will be also, to me, an act of faith that if you do like the podcast and you share it, that means that in a way you are listening to us as the first thing, and second, appreciating our
You're
our
enjoying, you're
talks,
learning a
our
little
talks,
bit.
not this one specifically, but our talks in general. Okay, Francisco, this has been really hard. I have to tell you,
Well, I
but I'm
would
happy.
love,
I'm very happy we made it.
me too. I would have loved our listeners to see when we were debating, the two of us, should we do this? Should we not? God, how do I approach this? It was like, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God. It has taken us like 3 days to figure this one out
That's true.
because
Yeah,
it is a hot topic that it's vibrant. I love talking about yes, I love talking about Spain and our history and our everything, but what's going on right now,
right
I
now.
think
Yeah.
it's super interesting as well. So, Jorge, thank you so much for being so courageous
Thank
to,
you. I mean, for
well,
encouraging me to do
so
this.
it's been a great talk.
It's been a great
And
talk.
everybody, thank you so much. Hopefully you have learned a little bit of the European perspective, and we shall see you next week. We love you all.
Yes, we love you all. Bye bye. See you next
Yes,
week.
amigos.
And as usual, we want to thank all our listeners for being there every week, letting us sharing our talks. Follow us in Spanish Loops in Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or your favorite platform.
And in Instagram, you can find us as the Spanish Loops Podcast, no spaces altogether. If you want to find us the quickest way, just Google Spanish Loops Podcast and you will find us. Hasta la vista, amigos.
See you next week.